A warrior stands in the quiet. The wind presses against his skin like the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths. Its touch sharp, almost judgmental. His gaze is steady, fixed upon the distant horizon, yet within him the battle rages. Not one fought with weapons, but with something far more dangerous. The ghosts of past doubts rise from the depths of his mind. Doubts that do not come from enemies, but from his very soul. It is a struggle familiar to all who seek true mastery. There are battles that cannot be won by strength, by sword, or by will alone. This is a war against something far subtler, far more cunning. It is the war against fear, weakness, and the ever-hungry ego that seeks to undermine everything he has become. And it is the most relentless battle of all. The wind howls, but the warrior's mind remains a silent lake, untouched by the storm around him. Yet, even in this stillness, the echoes of his own thoughts taunt him, pushing him to doubt. He must face himself, for it is there, in the quiet, that the true mastery lies. Not in the strength of his muscles or the sharpness of his blade, but in his ability to stand firm when the world presses against him, and to let go of the weight that drags him down. This is the path that leads to an ancient Zen system, a forgotten tradition that molds warriors not just of flesh and bone, but of spirit and mind. It is a discipline that demands more than just strength. It demands presence, silence, and the courage to transform from within. The ancient teachings are simple. Surrender the noise of the world. Silence the fears that scream within, and listen closely to the whispers of wisdom that have endured through the ages. In the quiet, you will find the relentless strength that has shaped the greatest warriors, and the key to mastering not only the external world, but the internal one. If this path speaks to you, walk with us, stay, listen, and learn. The wind howls against the warrior's face as he stands at the edge of the cliff. Below him, the ground drops away into the endless expanse of sky, a vast emptiness that seems to stretch on forever. His heart races, his legs tremble. It is not just the height that unsettles him, but the unknown, the feeling of something unseen pulling at him from the depths below. He could step back, return to the safety of solid ground. Yet something draws him forward, as if he must confront the very fear that has held him in chains. His master, standing behind him, speaks softly, but his voice cuts through the wind with clarity. The greatest battle lies not in the world around you, but in the heart that binds you to illusions. The warrior's pulse quickens as he turns to face his master, who stands still as a mountain, untouched by the wind's fury. The master's gaze is steady, piercing through the warrior's doubts. The truth begins to sink in. The challenge before him is not the cliff, but the voice in his head. The voice that tells him he is not strong enough, not brave enough to take that step. This voice, the ego, has kept him anchored, fed him lies of self-preservation, of comfort. But this voice must be silenced if he is to truly see the path before him. In this moment, the warrior faces the first trial, the ego's grip. The warrior takes a deep breath, and in the silence that follows, he feels a stir within him, a shift. The path has begun. The warrior steps forward, each movement deliberate, as if walking through a fog of hesitation. His gaze shifts from the vast emptiness below to the steady gaze of his master. The master does not speak again, but his presence is enough to anchor the warrior. A deep, unsettling silence fills the air, one that is not merely the absence of sound, but the presence of something far greater, the absence of distraction. The voice of the ego swells within him, a whisper telling him to stop, to retreat. What if you fall? What if this is your end? It says. But with every breath, the warrior stills his mind, calling on the first key of Zen, awareness without attachment. He allows the fear to rise, but does not let it consume him. He becomes the observer, not the participant, in his own thoughts. It is in this stillness, in this surrender, that he begins to understand. The path of the warrior is not one of force, but of release. The strength of the warrior is not in his ability to dominate the world, but in his ability to master his own mind. Only by facing the ego, the voice of doubt and comfort, will he step into the freedom of true discipline. As he steps closer to the edge, the fear subsides. He is no longer controlled by it. And as his foot touches the precipice, he knows the lesson of this trial. The greatest enemy is within. But the warrior's journey has only just begun. The next trial will not test his fear, but his ability to find peace in the silence. The warrior is led to a secluded temple hidden deep within the mountains, a place untouched by the world's noise. Here, there is no sound, but the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind, and even that seems far away, as though the world itself is holding its breath. His master gestures toward a small, unadorned space, a stone floor where the warrior will spend the next few days. No distractions, no comforts, only silence. Silence is the foundation of all mastery, the master says, his voice calm but carrying the weight of truth. The warrior looks around the empty space, unsure of what to expect. At first, the silence feels oppressive, as if it might suffocate him. The air seems too still, the absence of sound too heavy. His mind rebels against it, grasping for something, anything, to fill the void. But the master's words echo in his mind. This is not emptiness. This is presence. For the first time in his life, the warrior is forced to face the noise inside his own mind. Thoughts flood in, fears of failure, doubts of his strength, regrets from past battles. He tries to push them away, but they return with relentless force. The mind is a battlefield, and he is losing. Yet in the silence, something begins to shift. In the stillness, he starts to see the truth. Silence is not something to fear. It is the key to unlocking his true power. As the hours stretch into days, the warrior becomes acquainted with his mind's constant chatter. His first instinct is to fight it, to suppress every thought that arises. But each attempt only makes the noise louder, more persistent. Then, as if the stillness itself whispers to him, the warrior realizes the lesson. The mind cannot be controlled by force. It can only be observed. He lets go of the battle. Instead of pushing his thoughts away, he simply watches them pass, like clouds drifting across the sky. Each fear, each doubt, each fleeting memory appears and fades. In this practice, the warrior discovers something profound, that silence is not the absence of thought, but the presence of clarity. It is a space between thoughts where true awareness can take root. As days pass, the warrior's mind grows still. The doubts that once seemed so overwhelming no longer have the same power over him. In this silence, the warrior finds something deeper, his true strength. It is not the strength of muscle or willpower, but the strength to simply be, to remain calm and unmoved amidst the chaos within. The lesson of the silence is clear. True mastery begins with the stillness of the mind. The warrior is no longer ruled by his thoughts. He is their master. But this mastery is not the end of the journey. Now, the warrior must learn to move with purpose, to embody the path of the warrior, not just in stillness, but in action. The warrior stands before a large wooden post, a practice target for his kenjutsu training. The air around him is thick with anticipation, but there is no noise, only the steady rhythm of his breath and the silence of the dojo. His master stands off to the side, watching intently, yet offering no guidance. The warrior feels a surge of energy, but this time, the energy is different. It is not the burning desire to strike, to defeat, or to win. It is the quiet determination to move with purpose. His master's voice, low and steady, cuts through the silence. A warrior walks not to reach, but to embody the path itself. The warrior's mind churns. The words are simple, yet profound. To move with purpose is not just to perform an action, but to become the action. Every strike of the sword, every movement of the body must flow with intention. It is not about brute strength or speed, but about the alignment of mind, body, and spirit. The warrior takes his first swing at the post, but he is not thinking of victory. He is thinking only of the connection between his mind and his body, the alignment between his movements and his breath. For the first time, he realizes that true strength is not in the force of his strike, but in the focus and intention behind it. With every movement, the warrior feels the weight of his body, the rhythm of his breath, and the quiet force of intention guiding him. His path is becoming clearer. As the warrior continues to train, the blade no longer feels like a tool of destruction, but an extension of his very will. Each swing becomes more fluid, more deliberate. The mastery lies not in overwhelming force, but in the quiet precision of his movements. His body aligns with his spirit, each strike an expression of something deeper than strength. It is an embodiment of purpose. His master watches silently, offering no praise, no critique. The warrior learns that praise is not necessary on the path of mastery. It is the inner knowing that speaks louder than any external validation. The sword becomes his silent companion, guiding him as his mind settles into the stillness that was cultivated in the temple. In every strike, he becomes more than just a man with a sword. He becomes the path itself, the embodiment of every movement he makes. And with each swing, he understands that the true path of a warrior is not a destination to reach, but a continuous journey of becoming. Strength lies in the ability to remain present in each moment, not in the desire to dominate, but in the focus to move with intention and clarity. The warrior finishes his practice and stands still. His body is tired, but his mind is clear. He understands now that discipline is not about pushing harder, but about moving with purpose. And it is in this movement that true mastery is found. The next trial will not test his strength of body, but the strength of his heart. The warrior stands in a small clearing, the sky above now a cloak of midnight, shrouded in shadows. There is no sound, no movement, only the sharp, shallow breaths he takes, as if every exhale is preparing him for what is to come. His master's words echo in his mind. Fear is not an enemy, but a teacher. The warrior knows what is coming. His most daunting challenge yet awaits. A shape begins to emerge from the darkness, its form indistinct, like smoke drifting on the wind. The warrior cannot see his opponent, only feel the subtle shifts in the air, the faint pressure of movement that betrays the presence of something just out of reach. His fear rises, crawling up his spine, tightening like a vice around his chest. It would be so easy to flee, to run back to the safety of the light, to the comfort of the known. But he stands still, rooted in the teachings of his master. Fear is not his enemy. Fear is his guide. He closes his eyes for a moment, centering himself in the dark silence. In this stillness, he allows the fear to wash over him, acknowledging it without resistance. His grip on the sword tightens, not in fear, but in acceptance. The fear does not consume him. It sharpens his senses, heightens his awareness. The unknown is no longer something to run from, but something to embrace. In this moment, the warrior understands. Fear is not to be avoided, but to be understood. The air grows colder, the shadows deeper. The warrior breathes in the darkness, ready to face what has been hidden from him. The warrior stands poised, waiting, breathing in the tension that hangs thick in the air. He feels a presence move just beyond his reach, the slightest disturbance in the wind. His heart pounds, but with each beat, his mind grows clearer. He has learned, in silence and stillness, to sense the world around him without relying on his eyes. This is the moment he must test all that he has learned, the ability to become aware, not of the threat, but of the truth that lies beneath it. The first movement comes swiftly, Like a whisper through the darkness, a shift in the air that brushes past him. Without thinking, he responds. A fluid strike of his sword, cutting through the unseen. But there is nothing. His blade strikes nothing but the empty space. Fear claws at him again, threatening to cloud his senses, but he recalls the words of his master. True courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it head-on. In that moment, he understands. This battle is not won by striking blindly, but by moving with purpose. Fear, now understood and embraced, becomes his greatest ally. He feels the next movement before it reaches him, a shift in the air, the faintest ripple in the tension. With a swift motion, he strikes, and this time, the blow lands. The shadow flickers, and for a moment, he sees it clearly. The fear that had once threatened to overwhelm him is now the tool of his awareness, sharpening his ability to sense and respond. The lesson is clear. Fear, when faced with awareness, becomes a source of power, but the warrior's greatest test still lies ahead. To conquer fear is one thing, but to transcend it is another. The warrior returns to the temple, a place he once entered with uncertainty, a place where fear, ego, and struggle shaped his every step. But now, as he stands at its threshold, something is different. The air feels lighter, less burdensome. His sword is still at his side, but it no longer carries the weight it once did. His hands do not clutch it as they did in the beginning, with desperation or a need to prove his strength. Now, it rests there, simply as a tool, a part of him, but no longer the symbol of who he is. His master is waiting for him, as silent as ever. A single nod from the master is all that is needed. No words, no instructions, only the quiet acknowledgement that the warrior has reached the end of his journey. The path has brought him here, but the final lesson is not one of action or struggle. It is a lesson of surrender. The warrior stands before his master, feeling the weight of everything he has learned. The discipline, the battles fought, the fears faced. Yet now he realizes that all of it must be let go. He is no longer the warrior who sought strength through external battles. He is the one who must transcend them, to become something greater than the sum of his actions. This final trial does not ask for strength, but for surrender. In letting go, the warrior will face the truest test. The warrior stands in the silence of the temple, his mind a blank slate. His sword, once a symbol of his identity, now feels like a distant memory, an extension of a man he no longer recognizes. He breathes deeply, and in the stillness, he hears the master's voice in his mind. The true path of mastery lies not in the strength of your actions, but in the depth of your surrender. With each breath, he feels himself shedding layers, the layers of expectation, of identity, of everything he once believed defined him. He has trained his body, disciplined his mind, and conquered his fears. But now, he must confront the most challenging trial of all, the letting go of the very identity that has shaped him. The warrior's grip on his sword loosens, and as it falls from his hand, it clatters to the ground with a sound that echoes in the hollow space around him. In that instant, he feels lighter, not weaker, but freer. His mind clears. He no longer clings to the idea of the warrior, for he has become the path itself. The battle he once fought was never against the world, but against the illusion that his identity was bound to the sword, to the discipline, to the struggle. In his surrender, the warrior understands. Mastery is not in the discipline itself, but in the ability to transcend it. The warrior has become something greater, but the final test is not over. There is still one truth he must face. The path is never truly finished. The warrior stands at the edge of the temple, gazing once more at the path that stretches ahead of him. The wind whispers through the trees, the same whisper he has heard countless times before. But now, it carries a different meaning. It is not a call to action or a challenge to overcome, It is a reminder that the path of the Zen warrior is not linear, but cyclical. The journey never ends, it only deepens. For the first time, the warrior understands that his training, his trials, were never about reaching an endpoint. There is no final destination. The path of mastery is not one of perfection, but of continuous refinement, an endless dance between the known and the unknown. Each moment is a chance to return to presence, to discipline, and to self-control. In the stillness, the warrior is no longer seeking mastery. He is mastery. He closes his eyes and breathes in the air of the moment. He has learned the value of silence, the power of fear, the strength of transformation. But now he realizes that true mastery is not something to attain, but something to live. It is not in the sword, nor the silence, but in the living of it all, the embodiment of the very journey itself. The warrior steps forward, not as a man seeking to conquer, but as one who has become one with the path. As the warrior steps onto the path, there is no grand moment of triumph, no fanfare. The path ahead is just as quiet as the one he has walked before, yet it feels different. He no longer feels the weight of expectation pressing upon him. He does not walk to reach some final destination, but to embody the journey itself. Each step is deliberate, yet effortless, a rhythm that comes from within, not forced by will, but guided by presence. The world around him seems to shift, as if recognizing the change within him. The same trees that once stood as obstacles now appear as companions, the wind as a friend, the path as an extension of his own spirit. The warrior realizes that his journey is not about seeking mastery in the outside world, but about becoming one with the presence that lies within. His strength is not in his actions, but in his ability to remain present, to remain aware in every moment. With each step, the warrior embraces the ultimate truth. The path of mastery is the journey of becoming, not arriving. It is the dance of presence and humility, of continuous growth, of embracing every moment as an opportunity to refine and deepen. The path never ends. It simply unfolds, deeper and deeper, into the very essence of who he is. True self-control is not about rigid discipline, but the ability to surrender, transform, and embrace the silence within. The Zen warrior walks the path, not to conquer, but to become one with the journey itself. This concludes the full script. Would you like to revisit any chapter or expand on specific elements?